Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it pourest thy full heart in profuse strains of unpremeditated art. Higher still and higher from the earth thou springest, like a cloud of fire. The blue deep thou wingest, and singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest. In the golden lighting of the sunken sun, o'er which clouds are brightening, thou dost float and run, like an unbodied joy whose race is just begun. The pale purple even melts around thy flight, like a star of heaven, in the broad daylight. Thou art unseen, but yet I hear thy shrill delight. Keen as are the arrows of that silver sphere, whose intense lamp narrows, and the white dawn clear. Until we hardly see, we feel that it is there.
All the earth and air with thy voice is loud, as, when the night is bare, from one lonely cloud, the moon rains out her beams, and heaven is overflowed. What thou art, we know not. What is most like thee? From rainbow clouds there flow not drops so bright to see, as from thy presence showers a rain of melody. Like a poet hidden in the light of thought, singing hymns unbidden, till the world is wrought to sympathy with hopes and fears it heed not. Like a high-born maiden in a palace tower, soothing her love-laden soul in secret hour, with music sweet as love which overflows her bower.
Like a glowworm golden in a dell of dew, scattering unbeholden its aerial hue among the flowers and grass, which screen it from the view. Like a rose embowered in its own green leaves, by warm winds deflowered, till the scent it gives makes faint with too much sweet those heavy winged thieves. Sound of vernal showers on the twinkling grass, rain awakened flowers, all that ever was joyous, and clear, and fresh, thy music doth surpass. Teach us, sprite or bird, what sweet thoughts are thine. I have never heard praise of love or wine, that panted forth a flood of rapture so divine.
Go. Chorus hymnal, or triumphant chant, matched with thine would be all but an empty vaunt, a thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. What objects are the fountains of thy happy strain? What fields, or waves, or mountains? What shapes of sky or plain? What love of thine own kind? What ignorance of pain? With thy clear keen joyance languor cannot be. Shadow of annoyance never came near thee. Thou lovest, but ne'er knew love's sad satiety. Walking or asleep, thou of death must deem things more true and deep than we mortals dream. Or how could thy notes flow in such a crystal stream?
We look before and after, and pine for what is not. Our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. Yet if we could scorn, hate, and pride and fear, if we were things born not to shed a tear, I know not how thy joy we ever should come near. Better than all measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found. Thy skill to poet were thou scorner of the ground. Teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know, such harmonious madness from my lips would flow. The world shall listen then, as I am listening now.
Okay, so like when I read this, like what I gathered from it, like on the first read was like when he's talking about the first kind of section, talking about the bird, he really like describes it in detail and how majestic it is, and just kind of like goes into it. And as the poem progresses, he really starts to attach like humane symbols to things in nature, saying like thy voice is loud. Like he could either be talking about the spirit that he's referred to in the first line, or the bird when it's singing. And like that kind of thing really flows throughout this whole poem. I mean, that's what I got.
Yeah, so like, so like throughout the poem, he's like describing this bird that he's watching like fly around, and he's like, in his mind, he's like asking questions like, how can this bird like experience this kind of joy and like the singing that it's like its call that it's doing, and it's like he's wondering how it has just this innate joy in it that humans like seem to not have.
Going off of what Blake said, like talking about the spirit, and throughout the poem, spirit and heaven and religious imagery pop up quite a bit throughout the entire piece. So I feel like the spirit, it's not separate from the bird. It's more like the bird embodies the spirit, embodies heaven, like saying that the bird, which is a part of nature, is also heavenly and like on a higher plane than humans. Like what you were saying, like a bird experiences joy in a way that like humans aren't on the same level with.
Yeah, and then later towards the end of the poem, he stops speaking about the bird and starts to speak more about people and how they experience happiness, but it's a happiness that like comes from also knowing sadness. And he mentions how the bird does not know sadness at all; it only knows happiness. And he says, "If we were things born not to shed a tear, I know not how thy joy we ever should come near." So he's saying that he doesn't understand quite how the bird knows joy without knowing sadness to compare the joy to.
Yeah, and that can go back to like the innocence of the other poems that we read before this, like saying since they haven't known that sadness, that there's no way to know like dirtiness or like naughtiness. I don't know, but
Yeah, going off of what Sawyer said, there's a quote that says, "Of thy happy strain, what fields or waves or mountains, what shapes of sky or plain, what love of thine own kind, what ignorance of pain." This is talking about how all humans experience pain at some point in their life, and then the bird doesn't like really experience that. So the bird doesn't know the difference between happiness and unhappiness, and humans have that difference, so they can know which one's which.